Does your belly often present as being distended or give off the appearance of a pooch belly? Well, if you've tried to address this problem with conventional exercises like crunches, mountain climbers, or Russian twists, then you're missing one of the most important core muscles that actually works like a corset to keep your organs and midsection compact. And training without proper engagement of this muscle could actually be making the problem worse. Let me explain. For today's demonstration, we're gonna use this ball. We're gonna use this ball as an imaginary way to visualize what could potentially be happening around your abdomen as a result of one critical force that's always acting on you, and that would be gravity. You see, there is no escape from gravity, and we're always trying to accommodate around where we are in space relative to the force of gravity. So if we have gravity pressing us down this way, and we have a lack of ability to keep deep core tension through our transverse abdominis, or also the TVA, we tend to get distension that comes out this way. So as gravity comes down, and due to a lack of integration through here, that is going to press that area outward. It is going to bulge it outward. So what we are going to want to be mindful of as it relates to things like having a pooch belly or even recti diastasis is how can we build a base level of tension around our transverse abdominis to keep this area a little bit more compact. So that way when gravity is pressing down and we're getting this outward force, we have some resistance here to actually keep everything compact. And really, this is going to relate to two different things. That is going to be how we breathe and the position of where our pelvis and rib cage are relative to one another. So because having a pooch belly or distended abdomen is likely a pressure and breathing problem relative to a alignment problem, what we're gonna work on is addressing both of those at the same time. So all you're gonna need is a small stool. You can use a chair or a couch for this, and you can grab a book or a yoga block for your head if you like, but you don't have to have one. From here, what we're gonna do is you're gonna come onto your backside, and we're gonna get familiar with what it feels like to go into some level of TVA contraction. And we're gonna specifically focus on this through the phase of a exhale. So you're gonna just cycle a breath in, and as you go through your exhale, you're gonna take your 2 index fingers, you're gonna take them just to the inside of your hip bones. And what you're gonna try to work on is on the exhale, can you feel that you're getting a squeeze with the muscle that's right by those hip bones? Believe it or not, your transverse abdominis goes all the way down there, and it also wraps all the way around your backside, very much acting like a corset or a muscle for stability of the spine and really of the entire abdominal wall region. So we really want to build the capacity to have some level of contraction coming into there, and you should visibly see this area of your abdomen come back as a result of that. So if I was to give you an example, I'll cycle through just a inhale, and then on the exhale, I'm gonna really try to create this squeeze, trying to sense this area really beneath my belly button in the process of that. Now I feel that there's a squeeze there, and what you're trying to do for now is just get a felt sense of what it feels like to have that squeeze and maintain it. Once you feel like you have a general sense of what that feels like, what we're gonna start to work on is your ability to keep that through a very small range of motion for now. So your lower back is gonna stay more or less in contact with the floor, not as a result of you forcing your back down and excessively posteriorly tilting, because that's actually gonna create more rectus abdominis, or your six-pack muscles, activation in through here. And we're trying to keep this, for now, a little bit more isolated to the TVA. So I want you to build as much contact against the floor through your ability to exhale. So if as for an example, I'm in a ton of extension, you can see I can get my hand all the way underneath my lower back. What you're gonna work on if you're here is, can you exhale and allow the ribs to lower and get a little bit more contact with the floor as a result of that. Try not to just jam it through the pelvis, because then you're going to start to recruit things around your pelvic floor, which isn't so favorable. And once we have that felt sense that you are somewhat neutral against the floor, keep your hands in that same area, and you're going to do a gentle lift of your knees coming up. Now, what we're going to work through is a inhale, exhale, build the contraction. You're going to do a breath hold as you slowly lower your legs back down to the bench. The further the bench is away, the more challenging this is going to be, because obviously the more hip extension you're going to find yourself in. But you're working on your capacity to work through this range of slowly lowering the legs without starting to go into more extension or a rib flare as a byproduct of that. So build the capacity to go through the exhale. What I would recommend you do is don't rest on the tool of your choice here. Do a full breath cycle, keeping that tension, and now slowly bring the legs back, keeping that TVA under tension the whole time. And really what you're starting to work on here is your capacity to keep that inner corset under tension. So when you do go into things that require flexion, you're not just taking your belly and pushing it outward through over utilizing these upper abdominal muscles. You now have the capacity to keep some tension through the lower belly, sustain that, and then you can go through your rotations, your crunches, and everything while you maintain that deep core activation. So now that you have a general sense of what it feels like to create some contraction through the TVA, we're gonna build on that a little bit by using gravity to our advantage here. So what we're gonna come into is a quad pad position, just like so. And to start with, I just want you to let your guts, just let them go. And just kind of get a felt sense of kind of what that feels like to just let the guts go. Notice what happens potentially through your lower back and your lumbar. And what you might notice is that it brings you into more extension. And this is likely what's happening in a standing position due to how pressure and tension are relating to one another through the force of gravity. So how we're going to go through this is we're just going to allow things to kind of just hang out to start with. And now we're going to work on that same exhalation with the draw back. But this time, I want you to try to keep that as you come through the inhale. So I'm not just going to let this go when I go through my breath. I'm actually going to allow the exhale to build that contraction through there. And I'm going to work on the sense of having the ability to maintain that as I cycle through my inhale. So now can I take a breath in? I didn't let the guts just protrude forward. And on my exhale, can I build just on that feedback through the lower belly a little bit? I feel that that is on. And now I'm just going to try to take more or less a cylindrical breath, not only into my belly, but also into my side abs, as well as into my lower back. If you can get a good felt sense of that contraction and maintaining that contraction as you take the breath in, that is going to be huge in terms of understanding what it feels like to actually have good intra-abdominal pressure. So now when you go to move any load, or you're doing anything dynamically, you don't want to be braced in this position where you're holding that squeeze as hard as you can, but you've built your body's tolerance to be able to have that in a little bit more of an unconscious way. So now when you go to do things dynamically, you have a higher baseline to work from. And that's really the purpose of a lot of the training that you should be going through. So when it comes to dealing with any type of abdominal distension or pooch belly, as it's commonly known as, just remember, there's nothing inherently wrong with having a little bit of a pooch belly. For most people, it's very normal. You don't have to get obsessive about just compacting it in and having your belly drawn in all the time, because that could lead to a whole host of different issues. But if this is something that is more biomechanical and you're noticing in your movements and just day to day that it is creating problems, then this is probably something to look into. And you can see that there's a lot more going on at your core than meets the eye with just these doing crunches, and twists, and whatever else it might be. It's not that those exercises are wrong or bad. I think there's a time and a place for them, but we want to make sure that at the base of those exercises, we're working from a place where we have a strong foundation and a good sense of what deep core tension feels like, as that really is going to be the base that everything is drawn from. So give those a shot, and if you did find some value in this video, do all the YouTube things. You can like, subscribe, and hey, while you're here, the YouTube algorithm thinks you'll enjoy this video, so you might as well go check it out. I'll see you there.